Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in wa ba'd. Now inshallah we'll do the grammar lesson of the day. Like I said earlier, half of the class is approximately half is vocabulary, half is grammar. Eventually we sometimes spend more on the vocabulary just because it's more memorization and it's harder. Grammar, once you hear it one time, usually it sticks in your head. At least that's, for me, that's how it works. So an introduction to grammar is pretty much what we have today. Today we want to cover the simplest form of these patterns. The simplest. It applies to every word, and there's not much you have to look for in the word. Okay, so it's the simplest pattern, but it's one of the most important patterns because you'll know where a sentence begins, where a sentence ends, what types of words are in the sentence, all that kind of thing. Okay, so for those of you who are familiar with English grammar, which I've learned over the past few months, there's very few of you. Usually it's only the kids who are familiar with English grammar, which is not really a problem. In English, we hope to learn Arabic somehow how we learned English, which is just naturally. But that doesn't happen, obviously, because of various reasons. So, English has parts of speech. And parts of speech are characterizations of words. Basically, every word you can ever think about, it has a part of speech. Okay, it belongs to one category. Some of these I alluded to in the vocabulary lesson, which include noun, pronoun, verb. Okay, other ones include adjective, adverb, conjunction, preposition. So all the like whatever 8, 9, 10, depending on who you ask, parts of speech. Arabic makes it a little bit simpler. Okay, there's only 3. There are only 3. 2 of those have genders, one of them does not. Okay, 2 of those have genders, one of them does not. And since they're less, they're only 3 and not 10, it doesn't tell you that much about the word really. If you only have 3 categories, and you know it's in, category B, that doesn't really tell you a lot, because every single word in the whole universe is categorized into 3 categories. If there were 10 categories and I say it was category 9, then you could say something more. So it doesn't give you that much about the word, but it has an important place in the Arabic grammar study. Okay, so Arabic has 3. And another note about grammar, a lot of people study classical grammar, right? And they have all these words that they use, like sarf, for example. It's very important to learn it that way for certain people, for people who want to learn it that way. Okay, who are studying, professionally, for lack of a better word. Here we just want to get you familiar with the grammar. Okay, it's not like a professional study course, so we don't really use those words very often. We do when it's appropriate, and we don't when we feel like it's just extra memorization. Okay, so the first category of word is ism, plural asma. Ism or asma. Ism means name. Literally, it means name, as in N-A-M-E. Okay, N-A-M-E. And in English, you would think that this only applies to nouns, but it doesn't only apply to nouns. It applies to a lot more than nouns. Okay, so here are some examples. The best way, I don't want to describe them too much more. Just by some examples, you might be able to tell. Extra letter. Oops. So some more examples are huwa and hiya, he and she. He and she. Does that tell you anything about the category? Okay, maybe not. Like I said, huwa, hiya can also mean it, because every word is either masculine or feminine. So if it's a masculine word, you would use huwa. For a feminine word, you would say hiya. So basically you're saying she is a tree, he is a book, like things like that. But it's really it in English. Okay? So this is just one example. You need expand the category a little more. We have actual names. Zayd, Hamid, Fatima. Okay? These are also fall under this category. Okay, so we have 2 types of words. How about a third type? Common nouns. So it's called common nouns in English. Ash-shajaratu miftahun. The tree, key. Okay, just name the thing. Now this is where I want to break, because so far I've talked about nouns and pronouns. Pretty much just all nouns. In Arabic, however, things like saghir, qasir, kabir, big, small, which is normally called what in English? I think adjectives. They are also part of the ism category. Okay? Other examples that I want to add on now. Dhalika. That. That doesn't even fall under adjective in English, but that is a ism. Most critically why it's categorized as an ism is because it does have a gender, and you'll see that the third category that we'll talk about doesn't have a gender. Just to foreshadow a little bit, the second category is verbs, basically all verbs. The English verb, Arabic verb, categorizes actions. So if it doesn't have an action, and it also but it still has a gender, it has to fall under here. So this kind of category lumps a bunch of things together. Anything with no action, and yet it has a gender. Okay? So dhalika has a gender. What is the gender of dhalika? Masculine or male. The more proper grammarians would say masculine. Okay, so masculine. So it does have a gender, and it doesn't signify an action, so we put it under here. Ulaika, which we studied also. Right? That also has a gender, does it? Yeah, it's male, masculine. So that is falls under this category too. Second category of words is the fi'l, which is what I foreshadowed, actions. Okay? This is sometimes is a very confusing category. A lot of Arabic grammar people start out with this first. The first day they start with fa'ala, fa'alu, fa'alta, fa'alti, all that, and then I got lost. So here I'll just say a little bit about it and quickly move on, because I'm scared that this will overcome me. But just to give you a little bit about this category, it has to signify an action. It's a single word that signifies an action. However, when you translate it into English, it usually ends up being 3 words, 2 words, or 1 word. It depends on where it comes in the sentence. The same word, katab. If I just said kataba, it means he wrote. But if I say kataballahu, you don't translate it as he wrote and then Allah. It's Allah wrote. Khatama means he sealed. Khatamallahu, Allah sealed. But you don't put the he again. So again, the exact translation differs from sentence to sentence. They always signify an action. Action. Kataba, you write something. Khatama, to seal. Fa'ala, he did. But sometimes they say more than 1 word in their translation. And whenever we study them in isolation, we always attach the doer to the verb, because the different words have different words. For example, kataba means he wrote, but katabat would be she wrote, and katabna would be we wrote. So when we translate them, we always put them with this. So on the word-to-word tests, don't just write as the answer wrote. Don't write it wrote. Okay. So don't just write the verb. Write it with the doer, because the verb itself signifies a doer. Now this he part, I just got done telling you huwa and hiya are pronouns, they're ism. So how come there's a he? Again, it's some artifact of how English is structured, right? Unfortunately, we can't study Arabic how Arabic is structured, because we've been drilled with 20 years of other languages. It's not possible. So to relate it back to English, you have to add this. That's why we put it often in parentheses, because it's just something different from English. Okay? Kataba means wrote, but it has a masculinity, singularity to it. So it means he wrote. Okay? Things like that. But it can also be used for I wrote, Zaid wrote, or Fatima wrote, or whatever. Okay? So these are some examples of verbs in the past, or what we call maldi. The following are in the present. Yu'minun, they believe. We just had this word. Yuqinun, obviously. All those that we studied. Nudarrisu. They just don't start with ya. They can also start with nun. Nudarrisu. We study. Actually, this is not we study. That's nadrus. This is we teach. I'm putting mistakes so I can use a pen. Just so I can sit down and put something else. Okay, so we teach. So, again, it's pretty simple. Either they're in the past or in the present / future. That's not the complicated part. The complicated part is how to translate them and how to use them. And inshallah, we'll go over that when we start studying verbs, which is Unit 2. The last set of words, and it's the set that we're going to study first. Okay, and I'm introducing it last for some reason, but they're harf, or small words. Harf is literally letter, so they're almost 1 letter long. 1, 2, 3 letters. And they don't have a gender, and they don't indicate a number. Okay, there's singular and plural in Arabic in every word also. But here, there's no singular and plural. There's no gender, there's no number. Okay, so unlike asma, which is the first category, and af'al, second category. Words do not indicate gender and number. But they are extremely important to give the sentence some structure, right? Things like la. When we studied la in the first ayah, the second ayah of Surah Al-Baqarah, it changed the meaning of the sentence 180 degrees. So it's not an unimportant thing. Just because one letter long, it's la. Does that mean it's not important? No, it's one of the most important words because it's flipping the meaning. Okay? So we study these first because they have no gender and number, and because they're so important, and because they come all over the place. There are only maybe like 50 important ones from this category that you learn. But those 50 come in every single ayah in the entire Quran. So la, min, fi, ila. All these things come so many times, it's uncountable. Okay? So again, some of the words that some of these you saw already, some of them we didn't. But ila, to, tahta, under, wa is and, idha, when, man is who. Let me add some more from the ones that we learned. Li, for, be, with, and I heard fi also. What is the in? Ala, okay. Min. There was ma also. Don't forget ma. Mimma. What? Very good. Okay. So those things. Okay. So